Hi, it's Coppernosis with another video. Today's video is going to be about why I named myself or my channel Coppernosis. Gnosis is, of course, knowledge, and the copper has to do with America. And okay, so copper, I don't know if it just comes from America, but African Americans, or we just got the name African American like in 1985 from what's his name? Jesse Jackson. He's called everybody African Americans in 1985. Okay, so the thing is, most African Americans are not African. Spoiler alert. And everybody's gonna, people might get mad, and you might have already heard this, so that's good. But most of us are not African at all. We're mostly, most of us are just from America. I know it sounds strange and weird. It sounded strange and weird to me. I'm older. I actually watched Roots when they put Roots on TV back in the 70s. I went to school, and everybody called me, whatever you called, whatever they called us on Roots, Kunta Kinte and this and that, and that's one. That's I believe the books are lies. They're lies. They're lying to us. Most of us are not African. Turns out, there's a guy named Dane Calloway. I did watch him a lot, but that's only because my grandmother told me when I was a kid. She's like, we're Native American. We're Indian. But it turns out a lot of people were told not to over the years and years, and they put it in schools. And black people, when they were, in the 20s, they were getting in trouble for saying that they were Native American. And a lot of the things, like they say, like lynchings and stuff, a lot of it was because they were saying that they were Native American. Black Americans, Native Americans are, the reason we do so well is because this is our land. This isn't somebody else's land. This is ours. It's amazing, but I know it's hard to believe, or it's not hard for me to believe, because it turns out I told, another person in my family, and they're like, yeah. I have a 91-year-old aunt. She's like, yeah, none of us were ever slaves. Yeah, Grandma, we're Native Americans. My aunt was born in Indian Territory, Oklahoma. We're not. And then they used to say, oh, black people, they mix with the Native Americans, and that's why, we're from Africa or whatever. No, it's a lie. If anything, they were taking people from America, Native Americans, us, and importing them around the world. So I know that even my father, I looked at pictures from his family. I said, Dad, how come the head of the household, or the head of the whole family, how come he doesn't look, his hair is all straight? The oldest family member on his side of the family, I was like, how come he has straight hair and he looks like a Native American? How come what's up? Because he was. Supposedly, like, I can't even go into so much. It's just like, you can actually find out. They try to make it like, oh, the slave records are hard to find. No, they have actually the records of everything, and all the records are there. And even for your family, they're there. And copper colored people, they call us colored people. We're the copper colored people. We're from here. We're basically have copper in our system. Just when they say colored people, it was copper colored. And colored people in Africa are the people that are half black and half white. That's what they call colored people in Africa. That's probably why Africans think we're so stupid, and they're like, oh, you always hear Africans don't like Americans, and because and like, oh, why didn't the Africans come to save us? Because we're from here. That's why they didn't come to save us. You ever hear the expression cornrows? Guess what? Corn is native to America, not Africa. The black people here, we're it's just so crazy. And so I'm finding out all this stuff, which I already should have known. But people like tell you you're not this and you're not that, and so like you just kind of just like in narcissism, it goes into schools and like they tell you what you are. You don't know what you are. They tell you what you are, and then you try to ask your family, and they're kind of like blow you off, and you can't even ask your own family members stuff like a family member of mine killed, of somebody else killed themselves, and I'm like, I don't know anything about it, and I would love to ask questions, but it's always like everything has to be swept under the rug and quiet, and we can't even ask our own family members like where we're from and what, you know what I mean? We used to live in tribes. Very short time ago, we were all living in tribes, and we could know from our family, we could know from the people around us what we were and who we are. Now it's like everybody goes all over the world to live, and they send us to these wars. Nobody lives by their family anymore. I've been telling myself my whole life, I'm African American, I'm African American. But then again, my grandma was like, well, we're Native. So I'm like, well, and then of course she passed away a while ago, like 30 years, and I was at her funeral. And this aunt that I know, she's like, she was there. You know what I mean? We are not, most Americans, what they say is about 2 to 8% of people were brought from Africa, of the people that were slaves. 2 to 8, and it's actually probably closer to the 2. So, I mean, you can find this out, actually, from your family. If you have an older family member, and a lot of black people are knowing this already now, and it has something to do with that copper penny, and I don't want to get into the copper penny thing right now, like about how, I don't know what to say about that, but it's a big lie. It's a huge, huge cover-up. It's amazing, and you can look, like, if you were to do this, there's a band called the Dixie Cups, and they're from the back in the there's a song from 1965, that song, my grandpa and your grandpa sitting by the fire. So these girls sing that song, right? What's it called? Giacomo Finane, you know that song, right? So you can look it up, and there's these ladies that sing it, right? And so in 1960, they're dressed up in this video, they're dressed up like Native Americans. And you'd think that they were dressed up as Native Americans. They're not. They are Native Americans. There's another version of that song on YouTube that has the guys, and why they do that song. It's a song that they do in, it talks about the tradition of Native Americans, like in Louisiana, and they dress up and they parade around in these outfits they made especially for this festival, and it's all black guys. All right, it's all black guys, and if you watch the video, it's not like, oh, black guy, they were part of. No, it's their tribe. My grandfather and my great grandfather and my great 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 grandfather are Native American. My great-great-great-grandfather was living in Canada. You know, I mean, and most Americans, if you're black, you're not from Africa. I mean, and they make it so that we get all like flustered and frustrated and, oh my God, I'm totally from Africa, and da-da-da-da-da-da. You know what? You know how much they're lying to you about? Just about everything. Just about everything. That, you know, about going to outer space and going to this and that, about the earth. You know, my son, he won't listen to me about flat earth, but all of a sudden he's like, oh, Mom, I want to get the benefits from being a Native American. Well, you know what? We don't just get them, because they've been lying to us so much. It's like, that would be too hard for them to just like give everybody what they're supposed to have from being, it's such a big, huge cover up that, but the thing is, if I tell my family and tell them the stories, they're like, oh yeah, that's, you know, yeah, that's kind of true. And not just me. I talk to like black people all the time. You know, I talked to this one guy the other day, this kind of real Rasta guy. Oh yeah, you know, I was wondering why they wanted me at that dance. And I go, because you're the guy. Why would they want me at the Sundance? I was wondering, because you're from here. You're going to make it a better dance. It's going to be more authentic. You know, I know people are going to think, oh no, that's not true. It's totally true. And that's when it comes down to America was, I believe, the land, the promised land. We're the land. We were the land. We were, I think, when they say the Lion Tribe of Judah, they're not talking about Africans. I hate to tell you. They're talking about most the people from South America, North America that were Native Americans, but that's us. There's a ton. I mean, there's other tribes that look maybe Asian or whatever, and of course, there's a lot of mixed, people, and a lot of white people are Indian. I know there's the $5 Indian. They say the $5 Indians, people that were white people that were put themselves on the rolls. They paid $5 and put themselves on the rolls, while other Native Americans that were trying to get on the rolls were like labeled as African or whatever. I mean, and like, oh, you might think I sound crazy, but it's totally true. And I mean, it's just a fact. I'm looking up all my stuff. It's hard, it's not easy to like, but I was able to in one day find from information from 1930 census, 1940 censuses. It's not so easy. I mean, you have to go to colleges and do other stuff, but I was able to do that not at a college, on my own computer, at home. So, I mean, it's doable, but I know that my family is Native American, and I know that my whole life we've been saying we're African American. I know for a fact. And so basically, I mean, I hate to say it, that I feel like I'm being genocided right now. So this is why I'm making this video, because I know for a fact that I probably have no African blood. Zero. And you tell people that, they think you're this or that, but guess what? It's a fact. So, just so you know, and they have slave records. They have slave records, and they try to say people don't have first and last names. They had all the records of everything. The slave ships, they didn't even have gigantic slave ships like they show us in all these movies and stuff. That's total bull. And the way that the ocean is, they say that it didn't even been like feasible to do it like that, and it wouldn't have made any sense at all. But if they put it in a book, we just believe it. Oh, roots. Alex Haley probably didn't even write it. I'm not saying he did or didn't. I'm saying somebody else probably did and put his black name on it, and so we all listened. But it's not true. It's totally not true, and you really need to step back in that Lion Tribe of Judah thing. America, I think there's a lot of places here that indicate that this is where, a lot of stuff was going on that was taking place in the Bible. I'm sure all over the world it was too. And I know people get really, but you know what? Nobody in my family is getting all, They're like, oh yeah, now that you say that, luckily I have older parents and older aunts, but I mean, black people, us from America, are very strong, hardy, freaking people. So you probably have an aunt that's older or an uncle that's older that can tell you some facts. If you come to them with facts and you have a little bit of like, oh, you know what somebody said or this, that, you know what I mean? Then they're going to have information for you. I promise you. But you're going to have to like break down, like my dad said, oh yeah, when I came home from school one time, my dad told me we were from Ethiopia. But actually, slaves didn't come from that area. And he was like, you know what? Now that you say it, I think he might have just told me that to keep me quiet because he didn't know what to say. So they were trying to quiet people down. They don't want people to say that because then the story doesn't work. Where do we come from? There is a place in Africa called Monrovia. Guess what? It was named after President Monroe. It's black people that went there from America, not sent back after slavery or anything. They sent people there to start a colony and stuff. Now, I don't know too much about it, but the guy, it's called Monrovia, President Monroe, whenever Monroe was alive. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's just crazy. It's a total craziness. We don't even know who we are. So, I needed to make this video. I don't know if it's going to work, whatever, but look into it. I have. And it's pretty exciting. And then you realize you weren't probably a slave. None of my family was slaves. I thought my whole life I'm a slave, and I felt like a piece of shit. I felt like a piece of shit teaching it to other kids. When I'm in the classroom as a teacher, looking around at the black kids, even the white kids feel bad, like, oh, you know, I was this, or we were that. And the black kids feel like a million times worse, like, oh my God, I'm absolutely nothing. No, you're not. You're kings and queens. You're kings and queens. You're from America. This is your land. Suck it up. You're going to have to believe it. You're going to have to believe it. Because that's where you're from. And as soon as I say this, you're going to smile and you might start crying. And you're going to know you're a freaking king and queen. And I wish I knew. I wish I'd have known as a kid. But now I know. And I'm telling. And people know. When I talk to them, they know. You know? So don't scoff. Don't be a scoffer. You don't believe, don't believe. You think it might be true? Look it up. Because guess what? I ain't lying to you. I love you. And I love all of America. And I love all the people. And it's just another giant lie that they're telling us. So I'm not trying to say white people or black people or whatever, but I do believe that they sent a lot of black people around the world that are from America, that were African American, that are saying they're African American, but they're not. They're from here. They're just native. They're just indigenous. Just like most people, like it goes to the whole thing, like to I can't get into all of that, but because you know, as soon as you start looking into it, you're gonna know. But there's a guy named Dane Calloway, and I'm sure there's other people too. His channel is kind of like, oh, and it sounds like the news almost when you turn it on, but he's got a lot of information, a lot. So I'm probably not gonna put. I was gonna put a picture of my grandma and my great grandma. My great grandma's totally white. She looks like Irish or something. I don't know. I mean, it's like, it's, you know, I mean, she's white, but not like slave owner white. She looks like white, but I think she was like Native American and white or whatever. I don't know exactly. But I've got this picture and it's like blowing my mind because I got it less than a year ago. You know, like I'm starting to find stuff out, and my sister just sent it to me. So just know. And like, I can't even explain how crazy it sounds, but it's true. It's a fact. And so, you know, you need to look into your families. All right. Love you. They're like, oh, about the slaves. Think about all of the orphan children and all these orphan trains that they had going on. I believe those children, a lot of the children were slaves. And I think that means all over the world. That's not just American, that's not just Australian, that's not just Italian, it's not just Swiss, it's all over the world that they were putting these kids all over the place. So I do believe that's part of the reason that slavery was prevalent. They made these children into slaves. And it's crazy, but that's part of the thing. I don't have all the information. I could give you more, I suppose, but that was one thing that they were doing to like, and so they have to cover that up too, right? Okay, so guess what? Guess who's your copper gnosis right here? You know, they're trying to take the copper color penny away and get rid of all the copper color people. They'd love to do that. They'd love to do that. We don't even know who we are. They're like, whatever. They think they're Africans anyway. Nope. Lies. Lies. More lies. That's why it feels so shitty when you talk about it. Like, it doesn't feel real. It doesn't ring true. When you're a teacher in a classroom, it doesn't feel right to teach it. It's like, especially as me, I'm like looking at the blackies going, this just doesn't seem right. Look at these kings and queens. I don't understand it. But I wasn't saying kings and queens before because I was like, whoa, are we slaves? What the? We are kings and queens. They've taken away our, and that's why they do it like, oh, you have to know who your tribe. I know who my tribes are. I'm Creek. I'm Ojibwe. I'm Chickasaw. I'm not sure what else, but I know those three. I don't have any African. There you go. Oh, people talk about they do their ancestry. The ancestry is all bull. And if you look at in those pages, if you do any kind of research about the ancestry.com and stuff, people that are Native American are having a lot of trouble because they don't want to expose who is. All right? So you don't have to believe me. You can believe me. I know for a fact what I am, and I know my son thought he was African American 2 years ago, and now he's like, how can I get these benefits from being, you know what? I can't do all the work. You know, there's stuff out there, and you can find it. I promise you. Look for it. I love you. Peace and wholeness.